All right, welcome back. Let's continue our conversation in the Jurassic period. So the Saurischia, or lizard-hip dinosaurs, they further contain two main groups: Sauropodomorpha, which includes the sauropods like Brachiosaurus, the big four-legged herbivores, um, and then the Theropoda, which consist of the carnivorous kind of dinosaurs of the Saurischia, things like the T-Rex and Dilophosaurus, which you may remember from the movie Jurassic Park. And birds descend from this group, the Theropoda. So here are the Sauropodomorpha, kind of our descendants here. So the Saurischia, and then there's the Theropoda, which we'll talk about in a second, and then the Sauropodomorpha, including things like Brachiosaurus and these big kind of four-legged herbivores. And then that other branch, the Theropoda, that's what gives us things like Allosaurus, T-Rex, Spinosaurus, etc. Then we have the Ornithisia, the bird-hip dinosaurs, and they have three primary groups. Again, my Latin is bad. Thyreophora, the Thyreophora, has some of the armored dinosaurs, such as like Stegosaurus and Ankylosaurus. The Marginocephalia consist of things like the Ceratopsian, Triceratops is a ceratopsian, and the Ornithopoda, again, that bird word coming back, small two-legged plant eaters, but also large duck-billed dinosaurs as well, like the Edmontosaurus. So here are the Thyreophora, again, things like the Stegosaurus, Euplocephalus, Ankylosaurus, a number of these different plated dinosaurs. The Marginocephalia, so things like the Ceratopsians, and the Pachycephalosaurus, the bone-headed ones. If you've ever seen those, they have like a bony head. And then the Ornithopoda. All right, so that's how we kind of can further separate these things out. So from dinosaurs led to birds, and they first kind of popped up during the Jurassic, came to prominence in the Jurassic. Early pterosaurs arose in the Triassic, but went extinct in the Cretaceous. But again, in the Jurassic, birds kind of evolved separately from pterosaurs. These are different things. In fact, birds didn't come from necessarily pterosaurs. But what birds and pterosaurs serve as is an example of a common theme in evolution: parallel development. Just because these two things were flying doesn't necessarily mean, one came from the other. So here is kind of a pterosaur wing and a bird wing, and how the structures are different. How the structures are different, even that of a bat. How the structures are different. So most scientists agree that birds evolved from dinosaurs, in particular from the theropods, maybe a smaller theropod, eventually evolving to a bird. And maybe that proto-dinosaur that led to birds might have been this dinosaur named the Archaeopteryx. So this idea has been around initially with the discovery of, again, Archaeopteryx, which was first discovered in the 1800s. So almost over 150 years. The fossil of Archaeopteryx, this dinosaur, has skull, teeth, and a bony tail of a reptile. But the amazing part, it also, in some of these fossils of Archaeopteryx, very delicate impressions of feathers, so that you can see feathers were kind of fossilized, which is very rare because feathers are more. Remember, the hard material, bones, are what is best to fossilize. Things like hair and feathers, it's kind of hard, but every once in a while you get that. So you can see the light feathering here coming off of this Archaeopteryx. Again, you can see the feathering impressions that were left behind in this fossil. And so this is Archaeopteryx. Again, the structure, the bones, the teeth, the skull of a reptile, but then it had these very delicate feathers. So, predecessor to the birds. More recently, there were some farmers in China that also discovered several kinds of small dinosaurs as well as primitive birds. And one of those primitive birds is the Confuciusornis. Yes, Confuciusornis. Excuse me. Confucius was an old Chinese philosopher. So the bird was named after Confucius. Confuciusornis. These fossils were both found all found in about the same spot in rocks about 125 to 120 million years old. So these could be fossils of the very first birds or bird-like creatures as we're getting out of Archaeopteryx. Looks a little bit more like a bird than Archaeopteryx does. A little bit more defined as well as feathers as well. So these are some great fossil finds. All right, so as we're coming out of the Mesozoic, we'll get into the Cretaceous, kind of spells the end of dinosaurs. We get into flowers, which we're not quite there yet. So we will, though, be in just a second. I'll see you then.